With the start of the new year came the joyous occasion of Lunar New Year, a time for families to gather, indulge in delicious food, and enjoy each other's company. However, Jia Han, a 32-year-old out-of-work freelancer, found herself feeling discontented. Despite being seen as unemployed, Jia was busy preparing meals for the guests who had yet to arrive. As Jia's mother delighted in watching a cute video of her grandson, Jia grew increasingly irritated, feeling that her family was interfering with her cooking and eating the food she had prepared before everyone arrived. Frustrated, Jia suggested that her parents should take over the cooking since they were the ones enjoying the food. In response, her mother reminded her that cooking was the least she could do, considering she lived at home without paying rent. Soon, Jia's sister Yamin arrived with her family, and their mother warmly embraced her granddaughter. Exhausted from the journey, Jiamin's husband carried their grandson, and Jiamin yearned for a moment to rest. Jia, emerging from the shadows, greeted her younger sister with a forced smile, donning a flower print apron. Jiamin remarked that the apron suited Jia, teasing her about her relationship status and suggesting that all she needed to do was walk down the aisle. However, Jia failed to find the joke amusing. With a lifeless expression, she insisted that Jiamin wear the apron and help her cook. Jia's mother, unimpressed by Jia's behavior, reprimanded her. Jia, frustrated, simply wanted someone else to take charge of the cooking. However, Jiamin's husband interjected, pointing out that Jiamin was already tired, hinting that she might be pregnant with their third child. This revelation sparked excitement within the family, and they eagerly began to enjoy the festive feast. Amidst her sulking, Jia found solace in smoking outside, venting her anger toward her sister's seemingly perfect life and her suggestion that Jia meet a guy she knew. Lost in her thoughts, Jia's reverie was interrupted by an unfamiliar man who commented on her foul mouth. Curiously, the man was eating chicken breast in the smoking area, which perplexed Jia. He introduced himself as Mingxiel Jin, formerly their neighbor and a quiet, headphone-wearing gamer during their childhood days. Initially, Jia struggled to remember him, but as memories flooded back, she realized that Mingxiel had undergone a significant transformation. He had changed since their childhood days, now working as an assistant manager programmer in a renowned company, seemingly leading a decent life. Jia couldn't help but compare Mingxiel's success to her own life, where she constantly faced scolding at home and struggled with unemployment. She was taken aback by Mingxiel's apparent prosperity. As her frustration resurfaced, Mingxiel interrupted her thoughts and inquired about her well-being. Jia deflected the question, and Mingxiel casually mentioned that he had been living his life. While he believed he was doing well, his parents held a different opinion. They constantly nagged him to get married, even going so far as to sign him up for a dating service with a hefty registration fee of $5,000. Mingxiel assumed that Jia was not facing the same predicament, but to his surprise, she revealed that she was. In a spontaneous moment, Jia proposed that they get married, citing their parents' incessant demands. To Jia's astonishment, Mingxiel agreed to the proposal, seeking her father's blessing, and just like that, they got married. For their honeymoon, Jia and Mingxiel embarked on a tropical adventure. As they settled into their honeymoon suite, Jia found herself drinking on the first night, finally grasping the reality of her situation. She was shocked to realize that she wasn't dreaming, but rather in a foreign country, married to Mingxiel. Getting ready for bed, Mingxiel rummaged through his suitcase, searching for something that would make their first night together special. Jia, assuming he was referring to something intimate, felt embarrassed, claiming she wasn't ready. To her surprise, Mingxiel handed her earplugs, explaining that he occasionally snored. With the earplugs in place, Jia drifted off to sleep, noting Mingxiel's practicality and preparedness. The following day, as they prepared for their activities, Jia worried that their blissful honeymoon could quickly turn disastrous if they started arguing. Mindful of her choices, she carefully selected her attire while Mingxiel appeared in comfortable yet unfashionable clothing, wearing socks with sandals. Mingxiel questioned the significance of his outfit, to which Jia responded that it mattered because she would be looking. Realizing their schedule allowed for some flexibility, they decided to go shopping for clothes. Although Jia had limited knowledge of fashion, she believed that anything would be better than Mingxiel's eccentric ensemble. However, her hopes were dashed as Mingxiel emerged in a red and blue outfit adorned with suspenders. Justifying his choice, Mingxiel claimed that the bright colors would ensure he wouldn't be hit by a car. Determined to help him improve his fashion sense, Jia offered him a shirt and pants to try on, assuring him they looked nice. Unexpectedly, Mingxiel requested 7 sets of the outfit from the clerk, leaving Jia outraged. Mingxiel defended his request, believing that if something looks good, he should have several of them. In response, Jia decided to select a few new outfits, suggesting that Minxiel rotate between them. While browsing, Minxiel's attention was caught by swimsuits, leading him to ask if he could choose one for Jia for their banana boat ride. Caught off guard, Jia agreed without thinking, only to feel embarrassed once she realized what he had asked. With their shopping completed, Jia and Minxiel headed towards the shore. However, Jia couldn't bring herself to look at the swimsuit, fearing it might be too revealing. Uncertain of what Minxiel had chosen, she assumed it would be a sexy swimsuit, but her assumption was incorrect. Minxiel had bought her a wetsuit to match his own. To him, it seemed like the best choice for comfort and insulation. However, Jia found it embarrassing, considering it was their honeymoon, and everyone else was dressed in bikinis and swim shorts. Worried about the heat, she was pleasantly surprised to find the wetsuit quite comfortable. During their banana boat ride, Jia and Minxiel had a fantastic time, enjoying the exhilaration and indulging in food while capturing memorable moments with photographs. As the day drew to a close, they strolled along the beach, savoring the remaining moments of their tropical getaway. Jia, determined to make the most of the expensive trip, urged Minxiel to join her in various activities. However, Minxiel expressed concern for Jia's tiredness and pointed out an injury on her heel that she had been oblivious to in the midst of their enjoyment. Showing his caring nature, Minxiel offered to give Jia a piggyback ride, understanding that walking on an injured heel must be painful. Hesitant at first due to their tight schedule, Jia eventually relented and hopped on Minxiel's back. As they proceeded, Jia felt a sense of comfort being supported by Minxiel and admired the beauty of the sunset. Desiring a memento of the occasion, she insisted they take a picture, emphasizing the importance of living in the moment. Back in their hotel room, Jia reflected on the picture they had taken and remembered her sister's comment about couples often fighting during their honeymoon. Yet, Jia and Minxiel hadn't argued and had experienced immense joy together. However, Jia still felt embarrassed about the incident with Minxiel, carrying her on his broad back. Thankfully, that feeling quickly faded as she observed Minxiel peacefully sleeping beside her. Satisfied with the trip, Jia drifted off to sleep. Upon returning to Korea, Jia was greeted by her mother, who had prepared a feast to celebrate her homecoming and her new life with Minxiel. Despite her apprehension, Jia acknowledged that she had agreed to this arrangement when she got married. After settling into their new apartment, Minxiel presented Jia with a piece of paper. As she glanced at it, a random memory of a cartoon theme song crossed her mind. Just do it, just do it. It's okay to make mistakes because you aren't an adult yet. The realization hit her that making mistakes as an adult had serious consequences. Jia contemplated how her life had spiraled out of control since suggesting they get married, finding herself living with Minxiel. Examining the paper more closely, Jia discovered that it was a contract for living together. Shocked, she threw it on the floor. However, she understood the need for a contract and the importance of clear communication, prompting them to each write down 3 conditions. Minxiel's rules included no smoking, not bothering the cat named Mouse, and speaking up if something was wrong. Jia, on the other hand, demanded that Minxiel not enter her room without knocking, not force anything upon her, and communicate if something was amiss. Jia was particularly displeased with the no smoking rule, a habit even her father couldn't get her to quit. However, Minxiel compromised, allowing her to smoke in moderation due to his aversion to the smell. Jia inquired about Mouse, discovering that it was Minxiel's cat, who was currently lounging at her feet. Although Jia didn't particularly like cats, she refrained from voicing her dislike, fearing the consequences. Minxiel assured her that if she truly couldn't stand living with the cat, he would arrange for her to have a separate room. Money wasn't an issue for him as he was genuinely committed to their marriage. With the terms agreed upon, they solidified their contract, which included a clause allowing either party to terminate the marriage at any time. Jia foresaw that this contract would bring both tears and laughter throughout their journey together. On their first night living together, Jia decided to postpone unpacking and instead ordered furniture. Minxiel was due to return to work the next day, leaving Jia anxious about living with someone other than her family. Minxiel, on the other hand, seemed unperturbed, engrossed in his gaming session. The following morning, Jia was awakened by the sound of Minxiel cooking breakfast. Intrigued, she decided to join him for a meal since she was already awake. However, her enthusiasm quickly waned as she watched Minxiel blend chicken breast into a smoothie. Finding the taste unbearable, she asked if they had anything else to eat. Minxiel handed her a protein bar, further disappointing Jia, who longed for a real meal. Despite her dissatisfaction, she couldn't deny the effort Minxiel had put into his food preparation. That evening, Jia attempted to make dinner herself, seeking to impress Minxiel with her cooking skills. However, her culinary adventure took a disastrous turn, resulting in a burnt mess. Minxiel, amused by the situation, ordered takeout instead. Gia felt embarrassed by her failure and contemplated her lack of skills and direction in life. Meanwhile, Mingxiel assured her that he enjoyed the meal she had attempted to make and appreciated her efforts. Although Gia was skeptical, she appreciated his support. As days turned into weeks, Gia slowly adjusted to her new life with Mingxiel. They settled into a routine with Mingxiel focusing on his work and Gia continuing her job search. While Gia struggled with feelings of inadequacy and frustration, Mingxiel was consistently supportive, providing encouragement and a listening ear. Their interaction slowly developed a sense of comfort and understanding.